There's a lot of videos that I love making and there's a lot of videos I hate making. And today's a video I'm gonna hate making because it's talking about Daniel Ricciardo and, well, I believe his career in Formula 1 is coming to an end. What's up everybody, welcome to Car Rant. My name is John, and if you guys are new to the channel, we do builds, we do reviews, and we have candid conversations about cars. So if any of that interests you guys at all, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, and share this video with your friends. They also like cars, you know? You gotta love that. If you guys are already subscribed to the channel, we have Car Rant Extra now. It's a new channel that we have that is dedicated to bloopers and behind the scenes content. So if you're looking to just watch some videos of some dudes being absolutely stupid, that's probably the one you're gonna wanna check out. Without further ado, let's jump into this kind of depressing video. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna hate making this video. Daniel Ricciardo was the driver that got me into Formula 1. He was a driver I drove as in F1 2019, the video game. He was the driver who I enjoyed watching on Drive to Survive when I finally found out about that like a year later after I got into the sport. I didn't even know that was a thing. Daniel Ricciardo has always been a amazing sight to see on the grid. He always came to the grid with a smile. He always walked through the paddock with happy, excited energy about him. And he was always someone who was always a very positive person, a very encouraging person. And we might not have that on the grid anymore. I want to go back in time very briefly and talk about Daniel Ricciardo's history in the sport of Formula 1. He starts out in Toro Rosso, which you can now see on the grid as Visa, Cash App, Racing Bulls.
Brother,
He starts off his career in Toro Rosso. He moves on to Red Bull. He wins 7 Grand Prix at Red Bull. He decides to leave the team and join Renault, which you can now see as the really slow car, the rolling pile of trash in my opinion, and that is the Alpine. Sell the team, Alpine, please. Races with them for a little bit. He gets a couple of podiums. He's constantly finishing in the points. But he decides to leave the team. He joins McLaren, where he wins his 8th Grand Prix in Monza. And then 2022 happens, and this is where his downfall really kicks in. In 2022, we're welcomed with the new ground effect era of cars, as well as Red Bull's take on what the perfect racing car looks like. And, well, how do I put this? It is truly the perfect racing car. Everything is different about how these cars look. And they also drive very differently. There's a lot of drivers who were elite in the previous gen cars that now, frankly, I don't recognize them anymore. Drivers like Lewis Hamilton, who were driving amazing races, winning races constantly in the previous gen car, now struggle to find the top 5 in this year's racing. McLaren was one of those teams that really took a hit. The car wasn't up to what their standard was, and frankly, the car wasn't driving to how they wanted it to. And then throw on top of that the really bad year that Daniel Ricciardo had, finishing out of the top 10 almost every single race. He couldn't do anything about how bad this car was. And there's a lot of times where they say he blames the car for what happened, and I used to believe that, but now I don't think I do, because after McLaren, nothing was the same for Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo is dropped by McLaren. They pick up their rookie Oscar Piastri, who has clearly been a good investment. If you've been keeping track of the sport, he's been doing quite well. But Daniel Ricciardo is left without a seat in the 2023 season. And so what happens? He joins Red Bull yet again, but as a reserve driver and as someone who is simply a marketing tool. He wants to get back out there. He wants to go back into the race. He wants to drive an F1 car. There was never an opportunity for him to do so. That's why he became a reserve driver in the first place. Until midway through the 2023 season, where AlphaTauri drops its newest driver, Nick de Vries, whose awful performance rivals that of Logan Sargent. Respect and a moment of silence for Logan Sargent and someone who probably also won't have a seat at the end of this year the way it's looking. Daniel Ricciardo takes that AlphaTauri seat from Nick de Vries. He breaks his wrist at the Dutch Grand Prix. He sits out a couple of races. He comes back. He's looking really, really sloppy. He's not looking good at all. Right up until Mexico. He qualifies P4 in Mexico and he finishes P7. A lot of people, I myself included, thought Daniel Ricciardo's back. All he needed to do was get really hurt, and then the honey badger would come out again. Well, I was wrong, because he finishes the year after Mexico outside of the top 10 every race yet again. Now we're in 2024, and now we're at the part of the year where things are getting difficult. He has a full-time racing seat with the RBs. And you know what? I was really rooting for him. He was the driver that got me into the sport. He was the driver that really got me into racing and motorsport. But the driver I enjoyed watching is not the driver that I see. He finished P13 in Bahrain, P16 in Saudi Arabia, and P12 in Australia, his home race. I'm not expecting anything special to come out of Suzuka or China. And frankly, I'm quite worried that he's going to lose his seat. Maybe even before the mid-season mark. Helmut Marko, who's an executive at Red Bull, has already come out and stated that Daniel Ricciardo needs to step up his pace and he needs to step up his game. Which in Red Bull terms is, if you don't do well or finish in the points these next couple of races, you're gone. No one. I don't think anyone wants to see Daniel Ricciardo go, because, well, he was a figure on the grid that everyone loved to see. However, the nice personality can only take you so far. You have to deliver results in this sport, and that's something I've learned watching this sport and learning about this sport. Is it's all about the results. And frankly, Daniel Ricciardo's not delivering. Daniel Ricciardo wants that Red Bull seat next year, and he wants to deliver wins and podiums in the Red Bull. The actual Red Bull, not the V-Carb car, the actual Red Bull. But with Sergio Perez being out of a seat next year, there's other candidates as well. There's younger drivers like Carlos Sainz, who is an excellent option, someone who has podiumed, got his appendix out, so he missed a race, and then he won a race. That guy, who, in my opinion, another video, who Ferrari wrongly dropped, he's an option for Red Bull. Fernando Alonso, someone who's a two-time world champion and someone who is in his 40s and is clearly not showing signs of slowing down, he does have a seat next year. Now, he could re-sign with Aston, but why re-sign with a team that really hasn't been excelling in what they said they were going to do? If you want to win your third or fourth title, maybe join Red Bull. Sergio Perez could have a great year, and Red Bull might sign him on for another year or two. Or you have younger drivers like Yuki Tsunoda, who is driving the V-Carb extremely well. And he has shown that he has pace, and he's also a younger driver on the grid. Yuki Tsunoda might actually be the one to just slide in and take that second seat away. You see, Daniel Ricciardo at the beginning of the year might have had a chance to get that second Red Bull seat. But there are just too many good options on the table. I'm concerned and have kind of also accepted the fact that this is probably going to be Daniel Ricciardo's last year in Formula One. With a new age of younger drivers coming up, we've seen what these younger generation drivers can do. Liam Lawson did excellent in 2023. Ollie Bierman came in 18 years old. I'm older than he is. This is a kid, bro. This is a kid. He came in, finished P7 in Saudi Arabia, the fastest track, one of the fastest tracks on the Formula One calendar. You have reserve drivers, Felipe Drugovich, Jack Doohan. You have guys like that who are reserve drivers and they're F2 drivers, and those guys, in my opinion, might have a better shot than Daniel Ricciardo. I think it's time Formula One has come to an end, and frankly, you might want to throw him in a US NASCAR because, well, he's more American than he is Australian in my opinion. That's just my opinion though. But again, who's to say that when Daniel Ricciardo's time in the sport is over that he won't go to another series? NASCAR is an option. He's talked about how much he likes NASCAR. Roman Grosjean is racing IndyCar. I don't know how well he's doing. I haven't really kept track of him, but he is racing IndyCar. He was a former Formula One driver. There's a lot of F2 drivers that didn't want to wait for the opportunity in Formula One and they wanted to keep racing, so they joined. You see guys like Callum Ilott joining the grid. So who's to say Daniel Ricciardo doesn't have an opportunity to join IndyCar or to do a NASCAR run or even do endurance racing? Endurance racing is becoming more and more popular by the day, and and with IMSA being a thing and the WEC, you say Daniel Ricciardo doesn't get a signing with one of those teams as well. So what do you guys think? Is Daniel Ricciardo washed? Is he done? Is he kaput? Is he donezo? But maybe you guys have hope in Daniel Ricciardo. If you have hope in Daniel Ricciardo, leave us a comment. Let me know why you still think Daniel Ricciardo has a chance in the sport. Then also, let us know what kind of videos you want to see next. There's going to be a lot of Formula One content coming your way. There's a lot of videos that I've meant to record and haven't. So expect a lot of hot takes and controversial videos along the way. But until then, have a good one.